Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing a Shadow Priest first impressions on the Midnight Alpha, and just like the other first impressions videos, I am primarily a PvPer, so it's going to be from that point of view. So let's get this started. Shadow Priest, in my opinion, out of all the classes that I've done so far, I think probably has the most changes from what I've seen. They lost a lot of stuff, so let's go ahead and dive right into the some of the new things. You can see a lot of the talents have been kind of changed around, but some things you've noticed on the left side of the talent tree, we did lose our stun. I have the talents from the War Within brought up, but yeah, we don't have our stun anymore, Petrifying Scream. So we lost one of our CCs, which is one of our defenses, and as many of you guys know, Shadow Priest is not a mobile class, so we have to rely a lot more on being more tanky, as well as like our CC and all that stuff. So we did lose a stun to get melee off us, or to use as an interrupter or CC, whatever you want to, however you want to use it. And also Psychic Scream, which reduces the cooldown of the fear, is now sharing a talent with Void Tendrils, which most of the time I feel like people don't really use too much anyways, but it's now sharing cooldown with that, and instead of it being 15 seconds, it's now 10 seconds. So you can get your fear down to 30-second cooldown now. Another thing that has been removed is a Void Shift, which is yet another defensive cooldown, or something to, like, save somebody. I can't tell you how many times I've used Void Shift, and we have now lost that. And it looks like they now have talents for Focus Power, which increases the damage of your spells by 3%, and then for healers, increasing the healing of your spells by 3%. So that is new. I think translucent image is new. I can't remember, but if it's not, it's down there now. But I don't think I've seen that. Oh, it is. Okay, they just moved it. Okay. There's so many stuff that's like moved around, so it's kind of just throwing me off a little bit. But yeah, it's moved down here. Also, Phantasm has been moved from the top to down here. Um, they pretty much moved all the Fade talents to the bottom right, to be honest. What's some other new ones? I think Light Burst is new, but nobody's really gonna go for that as Shadow anyways. Anything else that's new? I think that's pretty much it, other than everything else has been like completely moved around. Like for example, Phantom Reach was like where translucent images pretty much. So yeah, it's pretty much about most of the stuff that's really kind of changed for Shadow on the left side of the talent tree. Although left side of the talent tree is basically where all the classes get everything, or where all the specs get everything. Sorry, my brain's not fully 100% right now today. I think there's one more new talent, and it's Twin Disciples. Increases the damage of your healing and holy spells by 2%, so that's about the only other thing that I've seen that's new. So, just to re-summarize it, Psychic Voice is now sharing a nod with Void Tendrils, and we lost our stun, so we lost one of our CC'd, which is kind of like, you can think of it as a CC and a defensive, because if we got a melee on you, it's gonna, you're gonna have a harder time, CCing, because less CC in the game. But CC also did get a nerf, by the way. But still, losing a CC kind of hurts when you got people training you all the time, because, you got no mobility and all that stuff. And we also lost Void Shift to either A, save yourself, or save somebody, because you never know. Life Swap is always a really powerful defensive to save. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've saved either a healer or fly carriers or something with Life Swap. So, pretty huge defensives lost for Shadow Priest this expansion. Everything else, like I said, has been moved around, so there's a bunch of talents that are still in the game. They're just moved all in different places. That's pretty much it for the left side of the talent tree. Let's go over hero talents. A friend pointed this out to me on stream, because I haven't made a priest yet, but Halo and Void Torrents are now talents for specific talent trees. So if you want Halo, Arc Run, which is built for Halo anyways, is in that talent tree now. The talents still remain the same for it. They have 3 new talents, but for Arc Run, but they're not in the game yet. So But yeah, Archron is basically built for Halo, and that's kind of more like, I feel like, for battlegrounds where you can just mess around with an AoE cleave. I've been seeing a lot more Archron on retail, so I don't know how it's going to be in the War Within. But yeah, usually Archron's pretty good for AoEing in battlegrounds, does massive AoE damage. But yeah, if you want to play Archron and worried about Halo or questioning what's going to happen, it's built in for Archron, so you'll have Halo for Archon. If you don't play Archon, no Halo. Same thing for Void Reaver. I love Void Torrent personally. I'm so used to it. It felt so. It would have felt weird to play without it. So luckily, you can still play it if you want to, and it's pretty much the same thing. You can use Void Torrent on the move. Like all the talents basically are the same, except for the 3 new ones they've added. Void Heart. While Rift is active, your shatter damage is increased by 10%, so more damage. Void Heart now persists for 8 seconds after Rift ends, so you can still do extreme amount of shadow damage after your go. And then Overwhelming Shadows, Void Torrent deals 50% increased damage, so more burst damage. So personally for me, I like Void Reaver, so you can do big single target burst goes. So I'm probably still gonna stick with Void Reaver personally. It just feels weird not having Void Torrent as one of my buttons when you're so used to it for so long. So but yeah, that's just what I'm thinking. Now comes the rights of the town tree. So I was really weirded out by this, but apparently Shadow Word Pain is gone. By the way, keep in mind this is week 3 of Alpha, so if this gets changed, you can completely disregard this in the future. But as of right now, week 3 of Alpha, Shadow Word Pain is gone, and apparently is replaced with Shadow Word Madness, which reminds me as well, I think Devouring Plague is gone as well. So yeah, they removed Devouring Plague and Shadow Word Pain, and I guess they built it into Shadow Word Madness. I think that's how it works. So, but yeah, so basically, I guess that's gonna be your spender now. So, for rotation wise, I'm assuming we void Vampiric Touch. Okay, so Vampiric Touch automatically applies Shadow Word Pain. Got it. So, it automatically applies Shadow Word Pain, and then in order to spend for your spender, you're basically going to be using Shadow Word Madness, and what this does is it haunts the target, dealing shadow damage and sanity plus an additional shadow damage over 6 seconds, and when reapplied to a target, the remaining damage is added. So you can spam it if you have a lot of insanity, and its damage will remain over time. And also, there's the animation for the new Tentacle Slam, by the way, which actually looks pretty sick. So, and it still automatically applies, your dots on it and stuff. But yeah, the button for Devouring Plague and Shadow Word Death is gone, but if you use Vampiric Touch, it automatically applies Shadow Word Pain to the target, it looks like. So I guess they just built it in automatically to the target. But here's the thing, what I was thinking of, and I'm guessing you can just use Shadow Word Death instead, but in order to kill like totems and stuff, you would use like Shadow Word Death, not Death, but Shadow Word Pain to get rid of the totems. So I'm guessing, I mean, we have Shadow Word Death, but it's 10-second cooldown, but it's going to be more annoying to kill totems now, with this change, I feel like, so that's just what I'm thinking anyways. Other than that, like I said, Tentacle Slam is new. Basically what this does is it just, of course, Tentacle Slam. I gotta say, that animation does look sick, though. By far, the coolest look thing, for Shadow Priest, for sure. And then some new talents they haven't added yet. There's a coming soon for this one over here. Coming soon over here where there used to be Void Torrent, because they got rid of the Void Torrent talents, so that's pretty much gone, and they put it into Void Reaver. They also got rid of the talent sharing with Void Torrent. Dark Ascension is pretty much gone. So Void Eruption is the only thing you can actually pick now, which I kind of liked. Dark Ascension, it's lower cooldown, and I personally like that more, but, I guess they just want us to go with Void Eruption. So that is basically what we're going to be going for now. And then the ones they have picked for that is improved void form. Void form generates 60 insanity, increasing your spell damage by additional 5%. So it just generates insanity and increases your spell damage. And then casting Shadow Word Madness increases the duration of void form, but I have a feeling going for improved void form will probably be better. It just feels like it makes sense for this one. And then everything else I think is more or less the same for the except for like I said, they got rid of the improved Shatter Crash because Shatter Crash is replaced with, you know, um, the Void Tentacle Slam. But yeah, it doesn't look like Void Volley is in the game anymore either. Void Volley is gone. So Void Volley is gone from the game. Everything else appears to be the same. I play so many classes, so I'm having to relook at some of these just because, like, you know, it's hard to remember everything. But yeah, I think that's pretty much mostly everything that's been changed talent-wise, other than there's probably a few talent changes, like a serious Insidious Ire, for example, doesn't have Devouring Plague anymore, and that's gone to make it, you know, increased damage from that. Now let's go over Apex talents real quick. Let me remove my camera real quick so you guys can see it. 1 second. Hold on, hold on. There we go. Okay, so Void Apparitions. When an effect from an idol is activated, conjure shadowy aspirations. So when one of your idols is picked here, there's 4 different idols, whichever you go with. Once it activates, you will get, you know, those shadowy aspirations put on a activated, you know. Void Apparitions. Shattering Apparitions have a 30% chance to spawn a Void Apparitions that release a Void Bolt at the target, dealing 50% increased damage. Void Bolt sends a pure Void energy at your target, dealing uh, shadow damage. So basically more damage from, you know, your little mini ads thing. And then last but not least, Void Apparitions Tentacle Slam has a 100% chance to activate an effect from one of your idols. So any one of these idols automatically gets activated when you use Tentacle Slam, which in my opinion is actually pretty huge. Let me see if I can pick one of these real quick. Let's just pick this for the heck of it real quick. See what happens. So let's use Tentacle Slam. And then it automatically uses my idol here, which is actually pretty huge. I feel like this is going to be really insane because Tentacle Slam barely has a cooldown. So if you can just use it and it automatically summons your idol, which is absolutely pretty huge. So idols are going to be a pretty much huge thing in this expansion. So I think these are pretty strong Apex talents, especially considering the fact that you can use one of your idols. So but yeah, I think it's really going to be a really strong talent for the future. But yeah, unfortunately, that's pretty much it for Shadow Priest. Because they don't have these 3 new talents in the game yet. We'll see what they change in the future. As for what I think about these changes, I think they hit Shadow Priest pretty hard. Because like I said, if you're a PvP Shadow Priest, you guys know you have no mobility. Like, people will just train you. It's common. It's very, people always train the Shadow Priest on retail. I see them get trained all the time, so losing Void Shift and losing a stun to get melee off you might be rough, especially considering the fact that Shadow Priest in general is, I feel like, a hard casting caster compared to like something like Boomkin, which has a lot of insta-casts, or you know, Affliction like that has like a lot of like insta-cast mostly, except for like, you know, Unstable Affliction. I guess Haunt too as well. Maybe, I guess Affliction's not as hard casting as I thought, but you know, I feel like Shadow Priest is probably the most hard casting caster, so you'll probably have to juke a lot. There is one more thing I did want to show. They did add a new PvP talent, and I think this is for all pre-specs, but when you cast a Fear, you are immune to the next crowd control, which is actually pretty huge. So if you can fear a rogue, for example, you'll be immune to their cheap shot or stun, which is actually pretty amazing. I actually think this is a pretty huge change. It's kind of like a evoker, except that it automatically uses it for you, and you're immune to the next crowd control, which is actually huge. And you are immune after the second CC. Like if you get stunned twice, you cannot be stunned for a third time. So this is actually a pretty huge PvP talent, which is probably going to be auto lock-in, so I foresee this being an auto lock in the future. But yeah, so that's pretty much it for the changes to Priest. If you have any questions, let me know. I'd be curious to let if you guys have any questions on Shadow Priest, let me know. And let me know what your guys' thoughts are on the new Shadow Priest changes. Gotta say, I hands down really dig the animation for Void Torrent, or not Void Torrent, sorry, Tentacle Slam. It really looks sick. It looks so sick. It actually makes me want to play Shadow Breeze this expansion just because of this animation. It looks so sick. Anyways, that's it. I will see you guys later. Peace.